YouTube. And my show today is, are there really grants out there? I know I get people calling me, or they'll meet me somewhere at an event and say, you know what, I hear the economy is so bad. Are there really grants still out there? Yes, there are. But the problem is that they're not trying to find you. They are not trying to find you. You have to find them. So I want to talk about how you find those grants, and also encourage you to come to one of my workshops, or if you don't live in the Orlando area, go find a workshop where they teach you how to find grants and how to write grants, because the money is still out there. If you would like to call into the show, the call number is 213, let me scratch that, is 619-768-2917. 619-768-2917. See, that's what you get when you're doing live radio, and then you're trying to do live on the via video. So today I have in the studio, you maybe hear them in the background, two people that are very special to me. I say they're special because they work for me. Yay! We have Ilianka Gonzalez and Ebony Rolle. It's not Ebony, Rolle. I just want to make sure I pronounce that right. And they've had an opportunity to attend some of my workshops. Actually, I just hosted a workshop at the African American Chamber here in Orlando a couple of days ago, how to start a nonprofit corporation and how to write grants and find grants. And I want to tell you, the main website that I use is called thefoundationcenter.org. It's called thefoundationcenter.org. You go to their website and you can search for RFP, which means Request for Proposals, and that means that the funders or people who are giving money are requesting you to send them a proposal, and you put in keywords. Now, what do I mean by keywords? If I'm helping children or youth, that's my keyword. If I'm helping women who have HIV, then women may be my keyword, or HIV may be my keyword. So you will put in a keyword, and then any grants for that organization will come up, and you can look and make sure that you meet their criteria and then apply for that grant. Now, we're doing something new in our office. For the longest time, I was so stressed out that I didn't have a lot of time to research grants or to write them, because I serve on grant review board, so I'm constantly reading them. I mean, when I say read, I mean hundreds and hundreds of pages of grant applications. But we have a grant research service now. If you go to our website, multiplyingtalents.com, again, that's multiplyingtalents with an S on the end.com. You'll see the new button. It says new, and we offer grant research services, just $25 an hour. You cannot beat that. We're going to research the grant for you based on the keywords that you give us, the service that you provide for the community. We'll find all the matching grants. We'll provide that information to you. Then if you want to proceed with writing the grant yourself or hiring somebody else to do it, you can do that. Or you can hire us to write the grants for you. That's additional service if you would like for us to write the grants for you. Now I'm going to turn to some of my employees to see if they have any questions, because they're constantly, asking questions, and we want you to call in, or you can email your question to me, or go into the chat room on Blog Talk Radio /Aretha Olivarez, and then just type your question to me. So Ebony or Ilianka, do you have a question?
As far as actually writing the grant, does that have to have the IRS verbiage in it?
Wow, that's a good question. Now, she's talking about the IRS verbiage that's required for people who want to apply for a 501c3 status. That's what she means by the IRS verbiage. So it does not have to have the IRS verbiage in it. That's just for the IRS to approve you to become tax exempt. But that's a very, very good question. Very good question.
Is there a resource for local government grants that people can go to on the internet?
Okay, she said two words. Are there resources for local government grants? Now, when you say local and government, you're talking about, say here, say we're going to use the city of Orlando as example. The city of Orlando, absolutely. There is actually the cityoforlando.net. They have grants that they give out. If you go to their website, it's not going to say grants. It's going to say the word initiative. So that's the reason why you need to come to a grant workshop, because it's those little key words that we're looking for grants, and it may say initiative or it may say the word funding. So you look on the initiative link on the cityoforlando.net website, and then you'll see the grants that they give. They have grants for a lot of youth programs in the summer. That's big for the Central Florida community. And even in your community, your state government probably has grants that you may not be aware of. And that's why you have to build relationships with your city and local officials to find out where the funding is, where the money is, because when you do find out, it's usually gone because somebody has found out, before you, because you don't know what's going on. Sign up for their email list. I always tell people we're doing everything electronically now. We're using the internet for everything. So sign up for your senator, your congressman's email list so you can find out what's going on in your area. Any other questions, ladies?
Typically, once they send in their application for the grant, how long does it take for them to actually receive funds?
Good question. Ebony asked, typically when you send in your application or your proposal for the grant, how long does it typically, what's the time frame before you receive the grant? Well, that depends on the funder. Some will give a grant within 2 weeks, but a lot of times they'll say on their RFP when you get the funding. I have a client that just applied for a grant, or it's due August 1st. They won't even look at the grants until January. So once they look at them, they might even have to wait 45 days to get a check. So it all depends. What you need to do as the recipient or the potential recipient is ask them that question. If you don't see that in their information, ask them that question. Once I get approved for the grant, how long will it be before I get a check? I know here locally, sometimes on the city level, you may have to wait 45 days or 6 weeks. It just depends, because everything goes through a cycle. So that's a very, very good question, a question that everybody should be asking, but some people, just assume that you're going to get it the next day, or you're going to get it once it's approved. They're going to send you an approval letter and the check at the same time, and a lot of times it just doesn't work that way. Very good question. Do you have a question, Elianka?
When you do your budget on the proposal, is it detrimental for you to put everything that's going on in your budget, or should you just list certain things that are more important for the grant?
That's an excellent, excellent question, and I'm going to repeat the question just in case they don't pick it up on the radio. When you do your budget, I know the budget is the biggest problem for a lot of people when they're doing a grant proposal. She said, is it necessary to list everything that you're doing in the budget? And I would say yes and no. It all depends on what the funder is asking for. For an example, if the funders say this grant is only for program activities, then you would not list everything, all your expenses, your salaries and everything in that budget. You would only list the program activities. And what I mean by program activities, the program or the services that you're providing to the community, that is your program. So if you're doing an after school mentoring program, you may have to get transportation to events. You may have to get gas. You may have to buy food for the youth after school, et cetera, et cetera. Only you know what you'll use in your program. But it depends. Now, government grant, those things they want everything down to the letter, down to the penny. So it all depends on what the funder is asking for. And that's the key thing, is to make sure that you read it over and over again. Every time you see a comma, look at that as a question. Stop and say, you know what, this is the question they're asking. And then once you finish, make sure you have someone else read what you have written to make sure there are no errors. Good questions, girls. I think we're going to have a caller later in the show. A gentleman called me today and he said, hey, I have a great idea I know a fundraising idea for your clients. I said, well, why don't you come call into the show